All right, let's move over to the heavyweights now, where we got Guilherme Pat coming in at -110, going up against Thomas Petersen, who also comes in at -110. Folks, we got to pick him here. Starting off on the Pat side of things, he is 6-0 and had a successful UFC debut where he was able to outgrind and outdamage Alan Fry Jr. in a very boring fight, let's be honest. It was clear that Fry was trying to get the fight to the ground, but just didn't have the strength nor the tactics to actually be successful with it. And Pat did a good enough job in terms of just, stifling enough of it, getting back out into distance and outdamaging Fry en route to that decision victory. I believe Fry was able to accumulate 8 minutes of control time, but didn't get credited for a single takedown attempt, which is also credit to Pat in terms of being able to keep him high enough to not get in deep on a takedown attempt. Pat is a guy that often relies heavily on his power, and it's gotten him out of some bad situations earlier on in his career. I remember taking a small shot on a plus 700 underdog that he went up against, and it seemed like his opponent was having good enough success with takedowns and top control, but they ran out of gas, and Pat was able to muster up a third round TKO finish. Pat relies heavily on that power, that athleticism, that strength, but he has kind of struggled to finish some of the lower level guys on the regional scene, and it makes me wonder if he even deserves to be in the UFC at this point. I think people might think he's more of a knockout specialist than he actually is. I think he'll struggle to do that at this UFC level, especially if he's facing guys that can keep him in bad positions. The fact that Fry was able to get 8 minutes of control time against him against the cage leads me to believe that better wrestlers and grapplers should be able to get him to the ground and really nullify him there by keeping him on his back. I believe he was supposed to fight on the Contender series. I could be off on that, but I was a little bit surprised that they brought him right into the UFC. And given that lackluster performance that he had against Fry, I think we'll see sooner than later that he may not be UFC level nor be successful at this level. Now he's going up against Thomas Petersen, who had a pretty good showcase against Vitor Petrino, specifically in that second round, and it looked like momentum was really in his favor. Unfortunately, in the opening seconds of round 3, he ended up getting caught by a big shot from the Brazilian and eventually put away. But prior to that, he went up against Dontel Mays in a fight where he was able to accrue 14 minutes of control time in the 15 minutes that they were together. He landed 9 takedowns, and that really showed what he was doing best on the regional scene. He's a wrestler first, great cardio for a guy of his size and his physique, and he usually does a good job in terms of holding his opponents down, smothering them, getting TKOs, getting submissions. He's really good with that top control. His hands are slowly coming together. We saw him outstrike Mohammed Usman in his first UFC win. Maybe he trusted that a little bit more than he should have in some of these fights, which is why he's come up short against Shamil Gaziev. But even the Petrino fight, I thought he put on a good pace. He got hurt very badly in that first round, managed to rally back, have success in the second round, but he just couldn't withstand the power in the third round. People give him more flack than he should get, in my opinion. I think he's better than what most people expect him to really be. People expected Petrino to flatline him, and to his credit, he pushed that further than a lot of people expected him to. I really thought, should that fight have hit the third round, that Petersen was going to be fully in control, but we always know that first 30 seconds to a minute of every round, a fighter is very dangerous, especially if they're known for their knockout power. And Petersen obviously fell victim to that in the opening seconds of round 3 against Petrino. Now, this is a fight where it seems like Petersen can kind of exercise his demons that he had from the Petrino fight. He's fighting a similar guy here in Guilherme Pat, probably not as dangerous as Petrino in my opinion. Definitely didn't have as much experience as Petrino had, going into that fight against Petersen. Pat's still, trying to find his way. He's still trying to accrue that experience and try to, showcase that he deserves to be fighting at this level. And Petersen's going to be a very tough out for him. And I've seen some people that be like, hey, why is Pat only -110? He should go out there and starch this guy. But, I think they're just kind of looking at the records here. They're not watching how these guys actually fight. I believe Petersen, sure, he might get clipped early. He might get put away. But I think he has good enough defenses where he should be able to avoid most of Pat's danger early, push him against the cage, drag him to the ground, and then just put that Petersen grind on him. And I think that will keep Pat away from having as much power as he has had in the past in deeper rounds. So I like Petersen here. I'll I'll muzzle my confidence a bit. I don't want to talk out of term here, so I don't want to say Petersen is a lock by any means. I think he wins this fight, but I have mediocre confidence here because, again, maybe I am overhyping Petersen, but if his chin holds up, he has all the tools to be the perfect kryptonite to Guilherme Pat style. Pat might be able to keep this standing, but Petersen will stay active with damage. He will have a better gas tank, and I think he has much better wrestling, especially better than what Fry showed last time around. So give me Petersen here, and I'm going to take Petersen by decision.